Space is silent, cold, and endlessly vast. But ask any astronaut, and they'll tell you, space is far from peaceful. Today on Factopia Hour, we're venturing into the void to uncover the experiences even NASA doesn't have explanations for. From unexplainable sightings to eerie sounds coming from the darkness, these are 10 of the most chilling things astronauts have seen or experienced in space. Some of these stories are confirmed by space agencies, others remain buried in mystery. And while skeptics may have their theories, remember, these accounts come from the most highly trained observers humanity has ever produced. Stick around, because number 1 will haunt you long after this video ends. Number 10. The knocking on the ship, Yang Liwei, China's first astronaut. October 15, 2003. Yang Liwei blasted into orbit aboard Shenzhou 5, becoming China's first astronaut. A historic moment for the Chinese space program. But something happened during that flight that Yang didn't publicly reveal until years later. Midway through his 21-hour mission, while alone in the capsule, Yang heard something that made his blood run cold. A distinct knocking sound, as if someone was tapping on the hull of his spacecraft, from the outside. Yang immediately checked his instruments. Nothing was malfunctioning. He looked out the porthole. Nothing was there, just the endless void of space. When he returned to Earth, Yang reported the incident to Chinese space officials. It sounded like someone was knocking on the body of the spaceship, just like knocking on an iron bucket with a wooden hammer. Yang Liwei. Engineers checked everything. No explanation was found. Even more disturbing? Other Chinese astronauts on later missions reported hearing the same knocking sounds. To this day, CNSA has offered no official explanation. Was it thermal expansion of the spacecraft's hull or something else, tapping to get in? Number 9. The space music, Apollo 10. Astronauts heard on the far side of the moon. May 1969. Apollo 10 astronauts Tom Stafford, John Young, and Eugene Cernan were conducting a dress rehearsal for the historic moon landing that would follow 2 months later. As their spacecraft orbited to the far side of the moon, they lost radio contact with Earth, as expected. What they didn't expect was what filled their headsets instead. That's not interference you're hearing. The crew described it as an outer space-type music. Whistling sounds, strange beeps, and eerie tones. The astronauts were so unsettled that they debated whether to even report the incident. NASA kept the recordings classified for decades, only releasing them in 2016. NASA's official explanation is radio interference between the lunar module and command module. But why was it only heard on the far side? Skeptics note that the Apollo command module had several systems that could generate radio feedback. But to this day, the exact source of the music remains officially unexplained. Number 8. The glowing orb that followed the Soyuz capsule. May 1981. Soviet cosmonaut Vladimir Kovalyonok was stationed aboard the Salyut 6 space station when he spotted something through the viewport that defied explanation. A large, perfectly spherical object appeared outside, glowing with an inner light. But this was no satellite or piece of space debris. The object was moving, intelligently. Then, without warning, the object did something impossible. It exploded into 2 smaller orbs, which hovered briefly, and then disappeared. Kovalyonok called to his crewmate to witness the phenomenon, but by then, it was gone. Kovalyonok attempted to photograph the object but couldn't reach his camera in time. Soviet space officials investigated, but offered no explanation. Was it an unknown atmospheric phenomenon, secret military technology, or something not of this Earth? We may never know. Number 7. Buzz Aldrin's UFO sighting on the way to the moon. July 1969. As Apollo 11 was making its historic journey to the moon, something unusual caught Buzz Aldrin's attention outside the spacecraft window. As reported by Aldrin, we were aware that something was accompanying us. There was something out there that was close enough to be observed, and what could it be? Aldrin described seeing a strange L-shaped light following Apollo 11. The crew initially thought it might be one of the panels from the rocket's final stage, which had separated earlier. They radioed Houston to ask about the final stage's location. NASA confirmed it was over 6,000 miles away, far too distant to be what they were seeing. This incident was largely unknown until Aldrin discussed it during a 2005 documentary. Aldrin has been careful with his words over the years, never explicitly calling it alien, but maintaining, "We were absolutely convinced that we saw something out there that was sufficiently accurate enough to report." NASA's official stance is that the astronauts likely saw reflections from the separated panels of their own spacecraft. But if that's true, why did Mission Control confirm those panels were thousands of miles away? Number 6. The time a satellite reflected a shadow that shouldn't exist. Multiple astronauts aboard the International Space Station have reported seeing something that defies explanation: a massive shadow moving across Earth's surface, with no apparent object casting it. According to their accounts, the shadow moved too fast to be a weather system, was too large to be cast by a satellite, and too defined to be a natural phenomenon. It appeared for roughly 10 to 20 seconds, then vanished without a trace. What makes this even more bizarre is that NASA's external cameras didn't capture the phenomenon, despite astronauts insisting they saw it with their own eyes. Similar shadow phenomena have been reported by at least 3 different ISS crews between 2010 and 2018. NASA's official explanation attributes these sightings to atmospheric distortion or optical illusions caused by high-altitude cloud formations. But some astronauts remain unconvinced, believing they witnessed something that our current understanding of atmospheric science cannot explain. Could it have been the shadow of an object using some kind of cloaking technology? A glitch in how our eyes process the vast scale of Earth from orbit? Or something more mysterious? Number 5. The space snake. Multiple astronauts report seeing it. November 1996. During Space Shuttle Columbia's STS-80 mission, astronaut Story Musgrave reported seeing something outside his window that has become one of the most debated sightings in NASA history. Musgrave, a highly respected astronaut with 6 space flights under his belt, described seeing a white, serpent-like object moving with apparent intelligence outside the shuttle. What makes this account particularly compelling is that Musgrave wasn't alone. Other astronauts on different missions have reported similar white, elongated objects moving in ways that defy physics. Musgrave has a PhD in medicine and is considered one of NASA's most scientifically credible astronauts. NASA's explanation? Space debris or ice particles from the shuttle's waste dumps, illuminated by sunlight. But Musgrave himself rejected this explanation, noting the controlled, biological-like movement of the object. Musgrave has been careful not to claim it was extraterrestrial, saying only, "I don't know what it was, but I know what it wasn't, and it wasn't debris." Number 4. The satellite that was never launched, the Black Knight. In the early days of the space race, both American and Soviet tracking systems detected something alarming: an unidentified object in polar orbit around Earth. This was deeply concerning because at that time, neither the US nor the USSR had the capability to launch objects into polar orbit. So, what was it? Decades later, during a 1998 space shuttle mission, NASA captured these images of a mysterious dark object. Internet theorists quickly connected it to the 1960s signals, dubbing it the Black Knight satellite. Some fringe theories suggest the object has been orbiting Earth for up to 13,000 years, based on radio operator Nikola Tesla's claimed reception of signals from space in 1899. The story gets stranger. Some researchers claim the object periodically changes position but maintains its unusual orbit. Others have suggested it transmitted signals that, when decoded, contain star charts of unknown origin. NASA's explanation? The 1998 photos simply show a thermal blanket lost during a spacewalk. As for the 1960s signals, they were likely misidentifications of early Soviet satellites combined with Cold War paranoia. But for those who believe in the Black Knight, one question remains. If it was just space junk, why did it appear in polar orbit decades before humans could put it there? Number 3. Seeing Earth and then feeling totally alone. Not all space phenomena are external. Sometimes the most disturbing experiences come from within the astronaut's own mind. Nearly every space traveler experiences what psychologists call the overview effect, a profound cognitive shift that occurs when viewing Earth from orbit. For most, it's a positive transformation, a sense of wonder and connectedness. You develop an instant global consciousness, a people orientation, an intense dissatisfaction with the state of the world, and a compulsion to do something about it. Edgar Mitchell, Apollo 14. But for some astronauts, there's a darker side to this experience. As they gaze at our tiny blue planet against the endless black void, an overwhelming feeling of cosmic loneliness can take hold. Several astronauts have reported experiencing depression and existential crises after returning from space missions. One astronaut, who asked to remain anonymous, described it as, "You realize how empty the universe is, and how alone we really are. That tiny blue marble holds everything we've ever known or loved, surrounded by absolute nothingness." This experience can trigger profound existential questions. Some find it spiritually enlightening, while others find it deeply disturbing, a cosmic vertigo that can be hard to shake even after returning to Earth. For these astronauts, the vastness of space becomes less a frontier of exploration and more a reminder of our fundamental isolation in the cosmos. Number 2. Flashes of light, with eyes closed. Imagine trying to sleep in orbit, eyes tightly shut, when suddenly, flashes of light appear in your vision. This isn't science fiction. It's a phenomenon reported by nearly every astronaut who's spent significant time in space. Apollo astronaut Alan Bean described them as white streaks of light like shooting stars. These flashes occur even with eyes closed, even in complete darkness. It was like having your eyes closed in a dark room, then someone turns the lights on and off very quickly. Alan Bean, Apollo 12. Unlike most of our list, science has an explanation for this one, but it's no less chilling. These flashes are caused by high-energy cosmic rays, atomic nuclei from distant supernovas, physically passing through the astronaut's eyeballs and directly stimulating their optic nerves. On a typical mission, astronauts experience these flashes every few minutes while trying to sleep. In essence, astronauts are witnessing the direct impact of subatomic particles that have traveled across the galaxy, piercing through their spacecraft and their bodies as if they weren't there. It's a visceral reminder of how vulnerable human beings are in the vacuum of space. While not dangerous in small doses, these cosmic rays represent one of the biggest challenges for long-duration space missions to Mars and beyond, as prolonged exposure can damage cells and DNA. Number 1. The Whisper in the Helmet. Unknown audio on the ISS. We've finally reached our number 1 most chilling astronaut experience, and it's one that NASA has remained conspicuously silent about. During a routine spacewalk outside the International Space Station, an astronaut, whose identity has been protected, was working to install new equipment when something happened that defied explanation. Through the comm system in their helmet, they heard what they described as a whisper, a human-like voice, faint but distinct. The problem? All other crew members were accounted for, and mission control wasn't transmitting at that moment. The astronaut immediately reported the incident. ISS systems were checked, communications logs were reviewed, nothing was found that could explain the voice. What makes this story particularly unsettling is the astronauts' refusal to repeat or describe what the whisper said, only stating it was deeply personal and impossible for anyone else to have known. NASA has never officially commented on the incident, and references to it have been notably absent from mission reports. Was it audio hallucination brought on by stress, a glitch in the comm system, or something more unexplainable? The astronaut maintains to this day, "I know what I heard, and I was alone out there, or at least I was supposed to be." Outer space isn't just a scientific frontier. It's a place of mystery, fear, and awe. These aren't movie scenes. They're real experiences from the bravest humans to ever leave Earth. Which one chilled you the most? Even with all our technology and scientific understanding, space remains largely unexplored and unexplained. As we venture further from our home planet, what other mysteries await discovery? Comment below with which of these incidents you found most disturbing, or share any space mysteries we missed, and don't forget, there are even stranger astronaut encounters we haven't covered yet. Want a part 2? Hit that like button, subscribe, and join us again here on Factopia Hour, where reality is often stranger than fiction.